actually didn't fight at all growing up. The worst that I ever did to my sister, I pushed her one time. She hit her knee on the table and started crying, and I was like freaking out, like never fought before. There, boom, she grabbed my hair.
I didn't notice that.
And I went, boom.
So you got mad at that point.
I did get mad.
You know, I went public school, so I don't know what happens in private school. I hear you guys drink from golden water fountains and have the best food at lunch. It didn't happen. You may have not been the inaugural women's flyweight world champion. Mm-hmm. That's a mouthful to say.
Yes,
inaugural women's flyweight world champion. I didn't go to food hall. Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, welcome to Keep It Aloha, a podcast that keeps it aloha by fighting inside and outside of the arena. I'm your host Kamaka, and I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I will fight for what I believe in, just like our guest today. Before we introduce her, I want to remind you to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/kamakadias if you love this podcast and want to support us. And just in case you think you're at the wrong podcast, this is the Keep It Aloha podcast, formerly known as the Hawaiiverse podcast. We went through a little name change, a little rebranding, but it's still the same. Our guests are still awesome as always, and you'll see that today. So let's introduce our guests. This podcast is brought to you by Ideate Studios, a for-rent commercial soundstage at the Entrepreneur Sandbox here in the heart of Kaka'ako. Whether making a movie, commercial, music, photography, or a podcast, check out Ideate Studios for your next digital media production. And if you're a nonprofit, be sure to ask about Ideate community discounts. For more info on Ideate or to book the studio, visit ideatestudios.org. Our guest today is an MMA champion from the island of Oahu. She is the inaugural and former Bellator's women's flyweight world champion. Currently, she is the second-ranked women's flyweight fighter in Bellator and the 7th overall pound-for-pound fighter in the women's ranking. She is also the founder of Nauhine Toa, a foundation focuses on teaching self-defense, self-love, self-preservation, and protection of sacred sites, including our bodies, our divine feminine entities, and our aina. Through fundraising, donations, and her win bonuses from fights, this guest has been able to award a total of 22 scholarships to young girls around the world, including natives of Mexico, Jamaica, Canada, Panama, Hawaii, and Turtle Island. She is well educated, an inspiration to men and women all around the world, and she could definitely beat me up. I am so stoked she's here today. Her name is Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. Aloha, Ilima. Welcome to the podcast here at Ideate Studios. How's it going?
Aloha, Kamaka. Thank you for that introduction. I was kind of hoping you were going to do like the Bruce Buffer voice.
I wish I could do that. I wish you could just do the intro to all the podcasts. Are you kidding me? That's a dream come true.
That was awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have the Bruce Buffer voice. Maybe I got to practice that. But I'm so happy that you're here sitting across from me. This was a long time coming. We've been trying to plan this for months, dating back to last year, and it just hasn't been working out. And even this morning, you're fighting some other things as well. You can never stop fighting.
I know. I was fighting to hold my vomit down, I guess. I think I got a case of food poisoning / the fight week, the weekend, everything. I think my body just started shutting down today, and I was like, oh, it was so bad. And I'm like, I can't cancel this podcast. I can't do it again.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I was getting a little worried when I saw social media, but you're here. You're not super bust up from your fight, which you just won. Congratulations. I was able to go in person at the Neil Blaisdell Arena. First time seeing a fight in person, which was super cool. I'm a huge sports fan, huge MMA fan, but we don't have events here. So, I never got to attend one until then. And it's so cool saying like, oh yeah, she's going to come on my podcast on Tuesday.
Yes.
It was so awesome. And the whole time you were fighting, I was like, Kana, don't punch her in the face.
I know. Everybody's like, you're going to do a podcast on Tuesday? I was like, well, he gave me the option to do it the Tuesday of fight week or the Tuesday after the fight. And it's kind of a gamble, yeah? Like, because what if I lost or what if I got super bust up? But I'm glad I told you, I was like, well, it depends what version you want. Do you want like grumpy cutting weight Ilima, or do you want like more relaxed food poisoned Ilima? Which one do you want? Yeah.
Take the food poison. All right. Well, we have a lot to get into, and I like to start at the beginning. Where are you from? Where you grad? And what was it like growing up?
So I am from Nu'uanu Valley. I grew up right next to Queen Emma Summer Palace. Literally, the park is my backyard. I'm on the same driveway as going up to the palace. And I lived there my whole life. I went to Punahou School, class of '09, baby so fine. And after I graduated high school, then I ended up moving to San Diego to attend San Diego State. Aztecs, baby. And I ended up staying up there. I finished my bachelor's. I got my master's from SDSU. And it wasn't until I was actually in grad school up in San Diego that I got into fighting. So I started training. My team is up there in San Diego, and I've been there since, which a lot of people don't know. A lot of people think I still live here because I come home all the time. And I know that this is going to be my final destination is going to be back here. But yeah, I'm currently in San Diego.
Okay, cool. And I was surprised to hear that you went to Punahou. And I'm so happy to hear that, you went to college, you're well educated, and you're also a fighter, because I feel like there's a lot of stigmas surrounding that, like athletes in general, right? They're not super educated, they're not great speakers at times, but you're like breaking the mold and just inspiring so many others to, pursue one thing, but also have success in another thing as well. And you actually started in MMA pretty late compared to, a lot of people, right?
Oh, yeah. I actually didn't fight at all growing up. My household, my family, we were all super close. We were very nonviolent. We even with the sisters, the siblings, we never fought.
No
ever.
Hair pulling,
nothing. I think the worst that I ever did to my sister was I pushed her one time, and when I pushed her, she hit her knee on the table and started crying, and I was like freaking out. Like, that is the extent of any kind of physicality in our household. So growing up, I had an amazing childhood, very, very close with my whole family, with my parents, and never been in a street fight before.
Wow.
Punahou actually had a zero tolerance policy. So even if you were to fight off campus on the weekend, if the school found out about it, you could get expelled. And my dad was actually a teacher at Punahou. He's a Hall of Fame athlete from Punahou. Our whole family went there. So we were very, we were scared that we would get in trouble. So never fought before, ever. And threw my first punch, up in San Diego.
Dang.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up in Hawaii, going to Punahou, you were still an athlete, right? You played basketball. Was that your main passion?
Yes. So, as soon as we were born, our dad was like doing exercises with us. And all my sisters, we were all athletes. Basketball was our first sport. That was my number one love. Actually, I take that back. Hula was our first thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we all danced hula for Hala Hula Olana. Yeah.
You did a beautiful hula the other day.
Thank you.
And at all the other times.
Yeah. So hula was actually our first, thing that we did. And I'm always super grateful for that because not only did it teach us body awareness, but, that was how I felt like I connected most with my culture was with my hula background. And then I remember and we were full on like keiki hula. If I didn't play sports, I would have gone on to Nohonani. Yeah, I would have gone on to go dance at Mary Monarch. But, we always knew that we were going to be playing sports eventually. So once I was pole dancing at keiki hula, then I transitioned to like full-time sports, competing for Punahou. But yeah, we played, basketball was our number one sport. We all played volleyball. I got into soccer. None of my sisters got into soccer. They just did like basketball and volleyball. So I got into soccer, and then I got into wrestling, which laid the foundation for what I'm doing now.
Yeah, definitely. Did your parents or family want you to become an MMA fighter? How did that end up happening?
It was purely by accident that I started fighting. Like I said, never threw a punch before in my life. And what happened was I was a state champion wrestler, tri-sport athlete pretty much. I ended up tearing my ACL as a freshman at Punahou. I tore my ACL wrestling. And after that, I just felt like that was the end of my sports career. I had all these dreams of, being the first four-time wrestling state champion, going to college. I actually wanted to play basketball in college. My sister, Amelia, she was the point guard at UH. I knew when Vince Gu was her coach, and I knew that I wanted to play sports in college. But after that knee injury, it was really difficult for me to come back, especially with basketball. I just could not run anymore or cut. And I ended up re-tearing it. My junior year, I re-tore it against Honoka'a at states. It was the semis. And
those dragons.
Yeah. And I remember Keisha Kanakoa stole a ball from me. And so I'm running after her. She goes for a layup. And I just landed really weird and re-tore everything. So after that, it was just, I basically said, okay, I'm not going to play basketball anymore. I'm just going to finish out my wrestling season. And then, start the next chapter of my life, just being a full-time student. And so, yeah, I moved to San Diego, gained a lot of weight.
The freshman 15?
It was the freshman 30 for me.
Double it.
Yes, I doubled it. I was just super unhealthy. And yeah, I got up to 175.
Wow.
And just to give you a little context, I feel very comfortable talking about weights because that's literally my career. My career is to weigh a certain thing. But yeah, just for context, I currently fight, my weight class is 125. And I walk, if I'm being good, I walk around 140. But if I'm being bad, then if I get above 145, I'm just I'm struggling. So, anyway, I just was super unhealthy in college. And one day decided, after finishing my undergrad, I was I need to get back into shape. I need to do something. And I literally walked into this random gym on my way to work. I was waitressing tables. On my way to work, I was I always see this little gym. I'm just going to walk in there and see what happens. And the first person that I see in the gym is Liz Carmouche. She is working at the front desk, and Liz Carmouche is the current champion of Bellator. And anyway, long story short, I signed up, and just the rest was kind of history.
Wow. Well, what made you take that step to actually do it? Because a lot of times, people are thinking, oh, I'm so out of shape. I really gotta do something, work out, join a gym, eat healthier. But it's just talk a lot of times.
Yes.
What actually made you do it? Take that step?
Yeah, I think I was it's intimidating. It's very intimidating, especially if you're not comfortable. You don't feel comfortable. You're out of shape. You don't like the way you look. You don't know how to work out. It's very intimidating to take that next step. And I think that it definitely helped. I had some girlfriends that had trained there before, and they're like, oh, it's so fun. You should just come. And I'm like, no, I don't want to make a fool out of myself. They're like, no, trust me. It's a really cool gym. The environment is really awesome. Everybody's very welcoming. So I'm like, okay, I'll go check it out. And so, yeah, the first step is actually walking through those doors. Yeah. I know people that have literally parked in the parking lot and you just don't see them get out of their car because that's how nervous they are,
Yeah.
And so, but once you get in there, what kept me going back was actually one of the coaches, Manolo Hernandez. Manolo Hernandez is one of my head coaches to this day still. And the first class I took at that gym was an MMA class. And I was super ashamed. I was so out of shape. I couldn't even get through the warm-ups. And the warm-ups were we're stretching in the warm-ups. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this. Oh my gosh. And he was so funny, so welcoming. And he really made me feel super special that I kept coming back. And he would keep me accountable. He's like, hey, where are you at? Are you coming to practice? And I just kept coming back. And he eventually asked, hey, you're improving. Do you think you want to do a fight night? A fight night is basically where you just fight somebody else from the gym. So it's like low key, it's smoker.
Like amateur kind.
Yeah, it's not even amateur. It's literally
okay.
like 1 minute rounds that whatever. It doesn't have to be like overseen by a sanctioned committee or anything. But I was like, yeah, I'll do a fight night. And I ended up winning that fight night. And then he's like, okay, let's do another one. But this time you're going to have to listen to all of my instructions. So we all know you're a wrestler and you want to take her down. But no, you're going to stay on your feet until I tell you to take her down. Okay. So I do that. I listen to all the instructions. I win. And then he's like, okay, do you want to do like an amateur fight against a different gym, like on the local circuit? I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Sure. So I do a couple of fights on the amateur circuit. And pretty soon I had like pretty much like 9 amateur fights that I was actually doing all throughout my grad school. And once I finished grad school, I actually finished it a semester early. And that was when Manolo's like, well, you're going to start looking for a career job pretty soon. Do you want to just have a professional fight, just like a bucket list kind of thing, so you can say? I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. And so, yeah, I trained for that fight. I had it. It actually went viral.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, it went viral. And then Bellator ends up calling, and they're like, hey, we're going to start this new flyweight division for women. Would Ilima be interested in being a part of that first wave? And I remember the first people I called were my parents, because I'm like, hey, Mom and Dad, I know you just helped put me through school, but is it cool if I like take this fight, or fight professionally for a little bit and just see what happens? And they were so supportive. They were like, you should do it now that you're young and healthy. That was when I was like 23, I think.
What year was this?
2013.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, 2015 was when I got signed with Bellator.
Okay.
So I started competing in 2013, got signed with Bellator 2 years later. And, fast forward to 2017, and I'm like the champion. And I'm like, okay, crazy. Cool. Yeah, like good career move, Ilima. I guess we're still going to keep going.
Yeah. Wow. What an unexpected turn. And what I got from that story is that from your time when you were hulaing as a kid, taking the step into the gym, fighting somebody, you had that mindset, which is a very Hawaiian value of a'aika hula, right? So, which like dare to dance, leave the shyness at home. A'aika hula, waihoika hila hila makahale. And that's what you did. Because whether you knew it or not at that time, you probably, it was ingrained in you, where you're afraid of doing this, you're shy, but you decided to leave your shyness at home or in your college or wherever you lived and take a step into a different type of arena and do something new, and you excelled at it.
Yeah.
And that's probably from how you were raised, from hula, growing up in Hawaii, and look at where you are now. It's so amazing to me.
Thank you.
To see all of that.
Mahalo. And it's so crazy because, you're, in the beginning, I don't really fit the mold of the stereotypical fighter. And I think that's the message that I do want to share with, up and coming fighters or our youth or other girls, is that like, you don't have to fit any mold. You don't have to live in a box. You can be multifaceted. You can pursue higher education, but do whatever you want with it or without it. I kind of joke that I don't use my degrees with what I'm doing now at all. But I actually really do. I think that by me having or pursuing that higher education, it has helped me in my entire fight career, being in front of the camera, being on the mic, being well-spoken, and also fighter IQ. Like I always said that one of my strengths was my ability to listen to my coaches, to be teachable, and I don't fight off of emotion. And I really do credit all of that with my education background.
Nice. What did you major in college?
So I got my bachelor's in cultural anthropology, and then I went on to get my master's in liberal arts and sciences with a focus on indigenous issues. And I originally was going to school to become a teacher. I really wanted to be a teacher. My dad was a teacher at Punahou forever. My sisters are teachers. And so, yeah, that's what I thought I was going to do. And I was really drawn to indigenous studies, especially up in San Diego. There's a lot of First Nations up there that I worked with. So who are, our histories and our traditions are parallel with those First Nations relatives. So I was really interested in pursuing something that had to do with that indigenous studies. And anyway, yeah, I still say, like, I can still be a teacher, just in a different classroom.
Yeah, you teach people with your fist. You like learn one lesson, step in the octagon with Ilima, because you gonna learn the hard way. Wow, that's so cool. When you were at Punahou, doing all your private school things, there's always the private school, public school things. I went public school, so I don't know what happens in private school. I hear you guys drink from golden water fountains and have the best food at lunch. Is that true?
I liked the variety. We had a snack bar, so you could go and there's just variety there. But I went to Punahou since kindergarten. So I literally...
Oh, you're a lifer.
I'm a lifer. I'm actually, so we call it the 13 plus because you, kindergarten, then, first through 12th grade is 13 years. But I always joke that I'm the plus because I actually repeated kindergarten. So I was at Punahou for 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm part of the plus club.
Yeah, nice. So back when you were over there, what would you think your classmates or teachers would think you'd be at right now? Where do you think they think you'd be at?
That's actually a really good question because I don't know. I feel like people, yes, they were surprised, but they also weren't. They're like, I almost feel like if they could choose somebody at the school that would become a fighter, yeah, it would probably been me.
Yeah. You also had maybe a little Tita vibes.
I feel like yes. Yeah. I always kind of had that edge a little bit. But again, I was like such a talker. I was actually like super secretly scared. And so I would just talk shit, but never actually fought. But I felt like I never needed to.
Yeah.
I really didn't ever need to fight. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, I've had like positive feedback from all of my classmates and my Punahou teachers and everything. A lot of them come to my fights and they're super stoked.
Yeah, I wouldn't say anything negative to you after seeing you fight.
So yeah, it's but I don't know anything else outside of Punahou.
Yeah.
But actually, you know what? I almost went to Kamehameha.
Yeah.
And this is how crazy this journey is, because so my dad, because he was a teacher for so long at Punahou, he got discounted tuition for my sisters and I. But once he decided he was going to retire, they couldn't afford the tuition, so they ended up having me apply to Kamehameha, so for 7th grade, and I got accepted. And it was kind of a big deal because, again, I was kind of this like prodigy athlete coming up. I was supposed to be one of the star athletes. And so Punahou, I think, got nervous. They're like, oh, shoot, we're going to like potentially lose this athlete. And I remember my parents taking me out to TCBY one day.
Oh, that's a throwback. Yeah. They don't have that anymore. That's the yogurt or ice cream shop.
Yeah, TCBY, the one in Nu'uanu by the old Hungry Lion. And I remember one day my dad takes me to TCBY after school and my mom's in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a coincidence. And I was like, that's so awesome. And, they get me my parfait and I'm eating it. And they're like, okay, so honey, we've decided what school you're going to go to next year. I'm like, okay. They're like, we decided you're going to go to Kamehameha. And I was like, all right. I was trying to look at the positives. I had a lot of friends up there that I played outer league basketball with.
Yeah.
And I was excited to try something new, but again, like, I was a Punahou baby. My whole family went to Punahou. I grew up on that campus.
Yeah.
And so I was nervous, you know, but I was just like, okay, like, this is going to be a good thing. And the day that we were supposed to send in the response papers to accept their offer, my dad was in a meeting with the ADs at Punahou, and he comes outside and he's like, hey, sweetie, we're in a meeting right now. Can you write on the back of this piece of paper the letter of the school you want to go to next year? I was like, okay. And I'm like in 6th grade, you know, I'm just like, okay.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I like hide it from him and I write it down, and then I hand it back to him, and like he's about to walk into the office and he flips it over and it's a P. And I don't know why I'm going to get emotional, but I just remember like he was so happy when he saw the P. And he's like, oh my gosh. And then we hugged and he went back into the office, and we were able to get financial aid for me to stay. And so we stayed at Punahou. And I always say too that was just like, it was meant to be, because I did end up tearing my ACL at Punahou. And I think if I had gone to Kamehameha, then that wouldn't have happened possibly. And I wouldn't have focused on wrestling. I would have just continued to play basketball my whole life. And again, I feel like my ACL, tearing it and cutting basketball out of my life was what set the path for like what I'm doing now. So
I love that.
yeah, I think it was all meant to be.
Everything happens for a reason. And I love that you got emotional there, because it shows me how passionate you are and how much that mattered to you. And a lot of people will see these negative events in their lives and then take it as a negative event where, you know, there's a flip side of that. There's silver linings where, you know, if that didn't happen, you may have not been the inaugural women's flyweight world champion. That's a mouthful to say.
Yes,
inaugural women's flyweight world champion. I didn't go to Puno. Maybe I can say it in Aloha Hawaii easier.
Yeah, can you try?
I don't know what flyweight is.
Oh yeah, it's like that's a made up word. I feel like. Maybe like 125.
Yeah, hokai na liva kalokum lima.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Yeah, no, I really admire your story and like the journey that you took, and I think that's why people love you, not just as a fighter, but as a Kanaka, as, you know, somebody from Hawaii who's has achieved something that you don't see every single day. I mean, for me, I grew up playing sports, soccer and football. I never really saw athletes that look like me. I mean, there was like football players and, you know, but they're usually like the biggest Samoan guy from the football team, you know, like Dominic Raiola and like those people. But to see like the fighters, Max Holloway, BJ Penn growing up, like that was my inspiration, you know, and people can, you know, say what they want about him these days, but to see somebody from your hometown reach the peak of success in a sport is the coolest thing ever. And you are that to a lot of people, a lot of young girls from Nuuanu, from Oahu, and all of that. So I just have so much respect. But also, I'm just going to keep adding another layer to that. Seeing somebody do that, but also not forgetting their roots, like who they are, but also celebrating their accomplishments, but their culture as well. Because not a lot of athletes do that. And that's something that I always kind of yearned for, is like, I see these athletes, they're so cool, they rep Hawaii. But like this Hawaii as the brand of Hawaii. It's so cool to be from Hawaii, football player from Hawaii, soccer player from Hawaii. Not too many basketball players like in the NBA from Hawaii, but to see you do the hula, bring all this culture to the mainstream media, that's what I love the most.
I'd never have been able to do any of that without the support of Bellator. And that's why I love them so much. You hear about other promotions, you know, like the UFC and
PFL.
Yeah, PFL, all these other promotions, but I just feel so supported by Bellator. And being able to do this, to send those messages out for my walkouts. And even, Michael C. Williams, our announcer, he asked me, he's like, okay, how do you pronounce? I want to know the real pronunciation for this. How do you pronounce it? And he's like, and you want me to say Kingdom of Hawaii? I was like, yes. And so like just having, again, the support of everybody, it's the only reason I was able to do what I do. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard being in the public eye and making political messages like that as an athlete. And so I understand that it's like it's a line that we kind of have to go back and forth on. And so I don't know if other athletes have the autonomy to do that, or if they're not supported by whatever organization they fight for or play for or anything. But I am very grateful that Bellator has my back on everything.
Yeah. When you say it's hard to do that, is it like hard emotionally, or just because like a business, because of sponsorships and stuff like that? Exactly. Businesses. Mm-hmm. And I'm at a point in my career where I do have the autonomy to, like I remember when I first started doing my walkouts, my management, they were like, okay, Lima, you know that you potentially can lose some sponsors who don't believe in, your messages. And I'm like, you know what? I understand that, but I'm okay with that, because I would rather have sponsors who do, believe in that. That align with
yes,
what
exactly.
your values are.
So I have turned down like really big sponsorships because our beliefs didn't align with one another. And again, I'm very blessed and fortunate to have that autonomy. Fighting is not a lucrative sport. Only the very, very top fighters, 2% they say, can actually make a successful career out of fighting. Mm-hmm. And so I'm blessed that I do have that. I'm at that point in my career where I can turn down a sponsorship, but a lot don't have that luxury. Yeah. And so it's hard. It's like this fine line that they have to, manage throughout their career. And, same with followers. Like followers is currency basically in this day and age. And so I know that some athletes, they don't want to, lose some of their following or whatever. But I've always had this mindset that, it's okay if my following dropped 20K. Like after I lost the belt, my followers just like started going down.
Fake. You're all fake.
Yeah. But I'd say that I was okay with that, because I would rather have my followers be the ones that buy my t-shirt when I drop a fight shirt, or send me positive messages. I don't want followers that again don't align with my beliefs.
Yeah, like fair weather friends, only there for the good times.
Yeah. So it's all good, and I think that I'm exactly where I want to be, and I have literally the best. I fight for the best promotion, and I have the best support system here in Hawaii.
Yeah, awesome. So you said in an interview, I think the other week, really recently, if you win this fight, hopefully you fight for the belt and then you retire. Mm-hmm. Is that still the plan?
That is still the plan. I, for the last couple years, I feel like my body has kind of been not shutting down, but there's just been a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm at the chapter of my life where I do want to be a mommy, and it's really difficult it's really hard on my system every time I have to cut weight. Even this morning, like that's just
it's a sign.
It's a sign. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't even think it was food poisoning. I think it was just a culmination of like the stress of fight week and the weight cut and fight, and then like I go eat all this food, all this delicious Ono food, and then my body rejects it, Yeah. So it does take, it's very taxing on the body, and I do want to be a mommy. And so that was the plan, was to, finish out my contract, fight for the belt one last time. And then hopefully I'm blessed with a family of my own. But yeah, that's still the plan. However, there was talks about a potential Grand Prix tournament.
Oh.
So the tournament, Bellator loves to do tournaments for your division, right? And so on Saturday night at the Blaisdell, you saw the championship fight between,
Brutal.
yes, between
That
Patchy,
knee.
and Rafian. And that was the championship fight for their division's Grand Prix. And it's $1 million, right? So after my fight, some of the reporters are asking like, well, what happens if Scott Coker ends up doing a Grand Prix? I'm like, he has not done a women's one yet. That's why. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta do it. If it happens. So we'll see. These next couple of weeks, okay, what he thinks.
We'll see. Okay. Has other promotions ever tried to reach out to you? Was it ever a thought to go to other promotions, or you're so loyal to the Bellator community?
Yeah, I am very loyal to them. Again, like they signed me when I was a nobody. Like, even though I did have that viral pro debut, we were actually talking to them before it went viral. So they signed me when I was a nobody. Not only that, but they also, again, like, supported me and grew me. And I 100% see a future with them, even post-fighting. Like, they have me commentate their fights. Even we were talking about, like, future Bellator Hawaiis. I could be like a liaison or something, And so I really, truly love Bellator with all of my heart. And it's a very small company, actually. And the luau that I threw on Sunday,
cool.
It's actually for Bellator. Like, I started that luau after the first Bellator Hawaii because I wanted to give back to Bellator and have them come experience a real local luau. And so, I love this company, and I'm hoping to stay with them. But again, you never know. You never know what happens.
Yeah. I just wanted to comment on the luau that you had. It's the third annual?
This was actually our fourth one.
Fourth one? Fourth one? Yep. And it's cool because I thought when you invited me, I thought it was like a backyard kind of thing.
Oh, like,
just all friends and family. And I got there, I'm like, some of these people look like straight tourists. I was like, okay, wait. Oh, these must be some Bellator people. And then I saw they asked, like, if you're a fighter, raise your hand. And then I saw people at Lays. I was like, oh, okay. This is bigger than the local community. This is like bridging the gap between both sides and like showing them what our culture is.
Yes.
And I thought that was so cool, like seeing some of the fighters go up on stage and trying to do the hulas, whatever.
Yes.
And they probably had the time of their lives, and their knowledge of Hawaii and our culture is probably so tiny. And even like when I was eating the Hawaiian food, like squid, I was looking at the squid luau, the patella stew, poi, all of that. I'm thinking, what do people outside of Hawaii think of our food? Like, seeing that, they're probably like, this is so disgusting.
Dude, they loved it. They seriously loved it. And like, even the kava from Kapa Kava, Auntie Shelly. And that's what I love about the luau, is that it's not like a the tourist trap kind. Like, it's a real one.
Or just like locals only.
Yes.
That kind.
It's so real. And we put a lot of work into it to make sure it remains that way. And I totally love when fighters bring their families. They're just blown away and very, very appreciative. So that's the plan. I want to keep doing it. Like, even if I'm PAL fighting, like, I still want to put this luau on for everybody. But it did start kind of like backyard style. The first Bellator Hawaii, we would have it at my house in Nu'uanu. And then we decided to move it out to Punalu so we could like make it a festival kind of, basically.
So it's just going to keep growing every year. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, don't ever stop doing that. I think it's so cool to see all the people so happy with their phones out.
Yes.
Like, they think I'm just observing them, really. Like, they've probably never seen this in their life. This is so cool.
Yep. And I just love my family so much because they're the best hosts and they're so gracious. And, mom and dad are kind of just going over to random people talking story, and I'm like, this is what it's about. It's about like connections, relationships. And and making sure that all of our guests and everybody feels welcomed no matter where they're from.
Definitely felt welcome. I appreciate the invite. Speaking about family, your family has a super interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad.
Yes.
I didn't even know he was best friends with Uncle Kimo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I know Auntie Gina, the guys from Kimo, Simply
yeah.
Sisters. They're awesome.
Yep.
I was talking to him, but when my family was here this past weekend, my stepdad was like, "You have to ask her about her dad," because the story. I'm just gonna summarize it real quick, and then you can tell the whole story. Her dad was childhood friends with this guy, and they grew up their whole lives just thinking they were best friends, and then later on in life they discovered that they're brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, and people would always joke around that they looked alike.
Yes.
And then when I was at the luau, we were looking around. I think Matt was over there. He's like, "Do you think that's the dad and the brother? Because they look alike." We're like, "Oh, that's gotta be it."
That was them. They were sitting on the side.
And they do look alike.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that was the craziest story. So my dad was actually Hanaid by a Macfarlane. So we're actually not Macfarlanes. But he was Hanaid by a Macfarlane. He was adopted by his biological grandmother who married a Macfarlane. So that's why we carry the Macfarlane name. And that's the same Macfarlane family that does like the outrigger, the Macfarlane regatta. So my dad grew up his whole life thinking that those were his parents. And it wasn't until his senior year of high school that they told him, "Okay, we're actually your grandparents, and this woman who you thought was your sister your whole life is actually your mom, your biological mom."
Okay, I didn't know about that part.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So he was Hanaid by Macfarlane,
Which was his biological mother's mom, Puna. His grandma, Puna, adopted him. And so Grandma Pete, who is his biological mother, she pretended to be his sister his whole life until they told him what happened. And my dad was like, "Okay,
So like an older sister.
Yes, yeah. And then they didn't really establish a relationship until much later in life, but she did. She ended up, because she lived in the mainland for a while, and she ended up moving back to Hawaii to reestablish a relationship with my dad, and it was totally fine. Like, that was our grandma. We're so happy and grateful for that time that we were able to spend with her before she passed away. My mom was her caretaker, everything. But the whole time, she wouldn't tell us who his biological father was. And we always wanted to know, because my dad is such a stud. My dad was like the best athlete, coolest guy, handsome, So we're just like, "Who is your dad?" And she only gave us his name, Chuck Trimble. That was all. And I guess I think he was a dock worker during the war. Mm-hmm. And so, we kind of just accepted that we weren't ever going to really find him or anything. But then all the DNA tests started coming out, like 23andMe, Ancestry.com. So one year, it was actually the year that I won the belt, 2017. We decided to get, for Christmas, all these tests for my dad. We got him every single one we could find. So he submitted his tests and his DNA and everything. And one day, he gets a notification that like, "Oh, you got matched with this one person. You guys share half of your DNA. We think this could be a sibling."
Oh, that's how it works.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, something like that. And then, and so we look at the profile, and it said Robbie 737. That was the profile name, but there's no picture or anything. Mm-hmm. And my mom was just like, my mom is one of the smartest women ever. She's so smart, and she went YNI high school, and she is like just the walking encyclopedia of our family. And mom goes, "Robbie 737." She's like, is that Uncle Robbie?" And she's like, "Because he did fly. He's a pilot. Like, is that Uncle Robbie?" And so Dad ends up calling up Uncle Robbie, and we're just like, "Hey, did you happen to do a DNA test recently?" And so long story short, they put the two together, and it turns out that was him. And we're just like, so now we're like,
That's
oh my
crazy.
gosh, like you guys must share the same dad. Or turns out it was the same mom. My grandma ended up having Uncle Robbie as a secret baby and had given him up for adoption. And so the more research we started doing into everything, we actually ended up finding other children, like other siblings.
Wow.
And then we were also able to find his biological father, who lived up in California. And so Grandpa Trimble, I mean, he had passed away already, but he had like 5 sons. He had 5 sons as well. And then my grandma also had like 4 sons.
Wow.
And so my dad, we ended up meeting up with all of that side of the family up in the mainland at one of my fights. They all came down to watch me fight. And we had like a huge family reunion where we met our long lost relatives. And it was amazing. And yeah, just so much good came out of that. And then even our Uncle Robbie, he ended up finding his biological parents, which was what his mission was, because he was Hanai too. And yeah, so there's just, we're just a huge happy family now. But yeah, it was just crazy that they literally grew up together. They were football teammates, classmates. The reason that they were classmates, even though they're the age different, is because Uncle Robbie's super smart, skipped the grade. And so that's why him and Dad were like teammates, you know?
That's
and
insane.
yeah, it's just been such a wonderful experience, like meeting our relatives. And yeah.
Yeah. My stepdad only met his father a couple years ago. And like we found out that we had all these other family in Kona, Washington, California. So it's cool to see that extended family, but not a story like that.
Yes.
That's like, I thought of a book to write that's similar to that, where it's like the mom has a kid, but says like she's the auntie or something instead of the mom. I don't know why I was thinking of this stuff, but that's like the real life version of the book I was thinking of.
Yes.
And
And
nobody wrote anything about that?
no, and but we were like, this could be like a Lifetime movie or something.
Yeah.
But there was, it was super cool because we decided after I won the belt. So I actually fought and won the belt in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So when I came back home after that fight, we put on a backyard style luau to celebrate. And so all the reporters were there, like Rob DeMello, Brandy Higa. They were all there to make a story about me winning the belt. And so, you know, they got their footage and everything. And I was like, hey, would you guys mind sticking around? Because we're actually going to like introduce our new uncle to everybody. And like, I think it would be kind of cool to have footage. They're like, yeah, sure. And they ended up doing the story on that because it's such a great story.
Yeah.
And that's how it went viral. So they
national, everything.
Everything. They went on the Steve Harvey show. They were on like ABC, all these networks. It was so great.
Crazy. Imagine like, what was more crazy for you that time, like seeing your dad's story unfold or winning the Bellator championship?
I would say the story. I'm like, I didn't care that they totally hijacked my moment of, you know, like, I won the belt.
I know, I was thinking that.
No, it was so like, this is incredible. And like, I always cry whenever I see the clip of us introducing Uncle Robbie because everybody's in tears. And so, yeah, it was so worth it. So worth it.
That's insane. What are the odds of that? Somebody got to do some math and tell us what are the odds of somebody being separated at birth, Hanai, but growing up together and then...
Yeah. And Dad would even like, he's like, yeah, whenever I would get kicked out, I would go to Robbie's house and like, he would come home from college and I would be in his bed. He'd be like, yeah, what's up? Yeah.
Oh, dang. Well, they got the Parent Trap.
Yes.
So so we need like a little local version of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's
What's
actually
cool-
a great idea.
Yeah. We have a lot of amazing Native Hawaiian filmmakers. They got to do something like this. Tell this story. This is so cool. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I love it. Let's talk about your foundation real quick before I get into Instagram questions. Na Wahine Toa Foundation. What was the inspiration behind that?
Yep. So right when I won the belt, well, actually, it was prior to winning the belt, I worked with a nonprofit called Native Like Water up in San Diego, and they were focused on, indigenous knowledge, Native education, cultural exchange programs. So I was a mentor for the kids in that program. And one time I went to Panama to go visit and spend time with the indigenous tribes out there. So anyway, we went to go visit the Emberaquera, which is like deep in the Panama jungle. And the founder of the nonprofit, Mark Chavez, he was like, yeah, I would love for the chief's daughter to attend one of our programs, but, they can't afford it. And he was just talking about it. And I was like, well, how much would it cost to send her to a program? So he gave me the number, and I was just like, well, I'll tell you what. If I ever fight for the belt and I win, then I'm going to use my win bonus to like fly her to San Diego. And it was really crazy because we were in the jungle, so we don't have any service or anything. We get back to the city, and like, this is so randomly timed, serendipitous, but we get back to the city, I get service, and my manager calls me, and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And he's like, Bellator just called, you're going to fight for the belt in November. I'm like, oh, all right. Well,
let's go.
Okay, let's go. And so, yeah, I fought for the belt, won, and I hit up Mark. It was like, okay, how do we make this happen? And Mark was like, okay, well, why don't we start like a scholarship for her and for other Native girls, that way you're not just, here's some money. So I'm like, okay, cool. So that's when we started collaborating, starting this scholarship. And I was able to award multiple scholarships that year. And then it was also, that was right around the time that the missing and murdered Indigenous women epidemic started gaining more awareness on social media. So it's a hashtag MMIW. And this epidemic is basically Native women are disposable and they are disappearing. They're being murdered. Native women actually face higher rates of violence out of any other demographic. And so right around this time, I was like, dude, this is crazy. I've never heard of this before. But it directly does affect me because it actually holds true for Native Hawaiian girls as well. So that's when we started brainstorming, and he's like, I think this might be the time to create your own nonprofit because this is going to be what your legacy is post-fighting. So I'm like, okay. So I always credit Uncle Mark for, guiding me through this process. But that's when I started the foundation, Nawahine Toa, which, I translate to women warriors. And the more research I started doing into violence against women and everything, the more I realized that it goes so deep. It goes back all the way to colonization and everything. And it also, it's not just about self-defense and knowing how to fight back, because that's what I do. I teach seminars, self-defense seminars, yeah. But 80% of violence against women is actually perpetrated by somebody that they know. So it's not necessarily stranger danger. Yeah. It's deeper than that. It's intimate partner violence. It's people, it's acquaintances, it's family, unfortunately, it's people you think you can trust. And so I started putting on retreats for survivors and for Native women and girls here in Hawaii. It's healing, and we come together, and it's an intercultural exchange, an intergenerational exchange. And that's how it all started.
That's amazing. What was the response from everybody when you first started it?
It was super positive, and I really have not had any negative. And if there is any negativity about it, I haven't seen it. But I really have had such positive response to it because this is an invisible crisis that a lot of people don't know, and that's what I actually really love about speaking on these issues, and even the romanticization of Hawaii and everything. Like, I get so many messages from people saying, I never knew this. Like, wow, we thought Hawaii was this paradise. Yeah. We never knew anything. Exactly. And so I'm again very positive response to everything that I fight for. And the timing, again, there's been like many serendipitous things about this fight in particular when it comes to MMIW and survivors.
Definitely. And going off of that, a lot of people don't know that Hawaii is one of the highest rates, or maybe even the highest rates of child trafficking.
Yes.
Human trafficking. In Keaukaha.
Yep.
Where
Yes.
on the Big Island where I'm from, and I had no idea until my sister-in-law started to share that about us and with us. And if you would never expect it, right? It's such a homey town, and there was that one news story, I think it was last year, where that girl disappeared for a while. They found her
Yep.
at Cafe Pesto or something, and it was her uncle or something.
Yeah.
Right, like you said, it's somebody that you know.
Yeah. And it's it's a combination of things why Hawaii is such a hotspot for it. But not only is our geographical location, we're right there in the, between Asia and continental US. We're right there. So it's easy for people to just disappear. And on top of that, we can directly link sex trafficking of Native Hawaiian girls to the tourism and the military industry. So there's like a crazy number that Hawaii actually has more, I guess you call them sex sites, like massage parlors, strip clubs, stuff like that. So, like sites that have the potential to be like a
front or
or like a sex trafficking site. Hawaii has more than Las Vegas. So it's just insane numbers that people really had no idea about. There was a really good report that was recently released that collected data and did research. It was actually created by the women. They put together a task force for this, and they just released it, I think, last month or so. And we're working on the second half of the report. But it was crazy. Looking at the numbers and, again, the invisible crisis and the average missing child here in Hawaii is a 15-year-old Native Hawaiian girl that goes missing from Oahu.
Where do they go? Like, is it so? I'm just trying to understand this. So, when you say like child trafficking, they're being kidnapped, or are they like being
they could be kidnapped,
they
could be sex trafficked, they could be working in the sex industry, or they could entirely disappear.
And that all falls in the one category.
Yes.
Okay. And so how do these people go unnoticed? Because I feel like it's such a small community. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, we have a lot of land. Maybe they go out into the rural areas, or maybe it's like they're just hiding right under our nose.
Absolutely.
Like, do we know the answer?
I'm not sure, but I do know that, again, the military industry is directly tied to it. In fact, there was literally just a Navy prosecutor, something like last week during fight week, a Navy prosecutor here in Hawaii just got arrested. His job was to go after predators. And he ended up being a predator himself and was like soliciting minors. And so I do know that a lot actually sex trafficking and underage of minors goes on in the bases. And the women that put together this research, Kara Kaniala's wife, she was one of them. She was like one of the leaders. Dr. Nikki Cristobal from Kauai, she put together, she kind of like spearheaded this whole thing. And so if you are interested in the report, you can find it on OHA website.
Okay.
But it's everything's connected. And that's why I say my foundation, the treatment of the land goes hand in hand with the treatment of women, of Native women.
I mean, we're part of the land, and our women, they're part of us. So if this isn't an issue, if this isn't affecting you directly, like for me, it's not affecting me because I'm a man. I'm not trafficked.
Yeah,
Traffic.
like you're not susceptible to the statistics or something.
Trafficked. Sorry.
Yeah.
How do you say that
Traffic.
word? Traffic. Traffic. I was trying not to make a joke out of the serious topic with trafficked. So like, how can someone like me support this cause and like spread awareness to it? How can we help?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like what you said, spreading awareness about it. A lot of people don't know about this. There's a lack of sufficient data. There's a lack of, response, like full-on response. Like, I guess one analogy could be that, for example, the Gabby Petito case. When she disappeared up in the mainland. The whole world, like, oh my gosh, Gabby Petito. Where is that kind of energy when a Native girl goes missing? Like, where is that? Where is that coverage? So yeah, I think just like you said, just spreading awareness about it, I think is the first step. If you wanted to do something a little bit more directly or hands-on, there are organizations out there that work directly with victims and survivors. I know Ho'olanapua, I believe, and then Dr. Nikki Cristobal, she has her foundation that she works with up in Kauai. Like, they are doing amazing work. My foundation as well. Like, we're working directly trying to combat this issue. So yeah, you guys can all,
Okay. Yeah. Mahalo.
donate or anything.
Why should we care if this doesn't directly affect us?
You should care because it does directly affect you. And like I said, the treatment of our Aina, so everybody going up to Mauna Kea, everybody fighting against Red Hill, that is directly tied and linked to the treatment of Native women. Our Aina is our mother, and so it directly does affect you, despite being Kane and not thinking it does. The girls going missing from your hometown, it totally directly affects the lahui. So that's why you should care.
Yeah. And it could be your sister, your cousin, daughter, So just thinking of it in that perspective as one whole collective. Like, this is our ohana, like you said, the land is our mother. We're all puas, flowers of the land, however you want to look at it. So that's why, that's why we're all connected, whether we like it or not. So mahalo for doing that, the good work.
Yes.
Fighting the good fight, Somebody's got to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. And hopefully, a lot of people who are just learning about this at this time, they can, head over to your foundation, other foundations, and just help out, spread awareness, because, it's such an important issue that is only coming up recently, for me at least. So, yeah. All right, let's take a quick shishi break, and we'll be right back with Instagram questions. All right, we're back from a quick shishi break. Mahalo to our sponsors, Shaka Tea, for always providing the best quality herbal tea shishi. I swear, I always got a shishi so much when I'm drinking this. You just chugged the whole one, and
I'm kind of dehydrated from following it.
Yeah, that
morning.
is true. And you got your Waikea water.
Yes, Waikea. Shout out to Waikea.
Awesome. Yeah, shout out to them. Okay, so let's get into some Be the Aloha You Wish You See in the World Instagram questions presented by Shaka Tea. First question comes from Kahakai 007. How do you feel before fights?
I'm very nervous. Fight week, I mean, every fighter's different, but fight week, I try to distract myself, honestly, because I don't want to get too much into my head. So that's why I don't mind, doing all the media appearances and stuff like that, because it
busy.
Just yes, I stay super busy. But yeah, before the fight, super nervous. I think the most nervous I get is backstage in the locker room when you're like watching the fight before you and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm next. That's when I'm like, okay. And then when you get inside the cage, I'm super nervous and I'm just like, how did I get here? What am I doing? And then the nerves don't go away until I feel my opponent's strength. That's when I'm like, okay, so whether that is them punching me or, they tie up with me and put me in the clinch, like that's when I can feel them, that's when I'm not nervous anymore.
So what if you feel it and you feel that they're so strong? Does it not go away?
Then I'm like, okay, we need to adjust the game plan.
Yeah, I always wondered what goes on behind the scenes, like in the locker room before coming out. So you guys do watch the other fights?
I do.
Okay.
I know some fighters don't, but I like to watch the fights. Like I'm literally getting my hair braided. I'm watching the prelims, and then I have it on my phone. We get in the bus. They take me to the Blaisdell. In the back room, they typically have a TV in your warm up room. So yeah, I like to watch it all. But some fighters, they'll shut off their phone all of fight week.
Wow.
They don't like to do anything.
So even like, are you getting messages back then? Are you on Instagram?
I am. I typically tend to stop looking at my actual phone once I get to the arena. Then I'll like just put it aside and just watch the fights. But yeah, again, everybody's different. But my perspective is that if I'm not nervous, then I gotta hang up the gloves, because nervousness is a good thing. That means I care.
It's excitement.
Yes.
It's the same physiological effect on your body.
Yep.
Nervousness and excitement.
Yep.
Yeah. So how was that Yancey fight?
So
That was
awesome.
fun, right?
I freaking love that guy.
He's really good at blocking punches with his face.
Dude, yeah.
That's what he says when he came on. He's like, I gotta stop blocking up punches with my face.
Yeah. I love that guy. Yeah, he always brings it. His fights are like,
I know.
literally all of them are so entertaining.
I know. He was taking some damage. I'm like, no, Yancey. And then I was like, wait, this is actually good for him. This is where he thrives.
Yes.
And then he did exactly what he always does.
And I'm so happy because he originally was supposed to be on the prelims, but then one of the main card fights got scrapped. So they bumped him up to the main card, which they should have done from the beginning. I was like, when I saw Yancey on the prelims, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then they made his fight right before mine. So I was just like, heck yeah, Hawaiian, you're
so
like leading the way.
Does that give you more adrenaline, like hype you up?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like, again, our Hawaii fighters did super good.
5-0, right?
Well, no, it was 4. Well, we went 4 we won 4 out of 5. So Bobby King is actually a Maui boy, but he lives in Utah now. But yeah, so he lost. His fight was freaking close too. He did really well. Yeah. But yeah, everyone else won, which is great because the year before everybody like kind of did not win.
I remember. So how is it when you're fighting and between rounds? Like what are your coaches telling you? Like if you're winning or losing? Like do you know if you're winning or losing?
No, and so I asked them. I'm like, okay, how did that round go? And then they tell me. So yeah, in this fight though, they thought that I won the first round, even though I did get taken down. Like I just
she didn't do anything.
Yeah. But yeah, so they were like, look, that right hand is open. She's not moving her head. Like, throw that right hand. So yeah, they give me again feedback that I need. But I always kind of, it's scary to know or to think that you might have won or lost the round because you don't know. You really don't know.
It's all up to the judges. If they're scoring more takedowns than damage. Then
exactly.
Yeah, that's why it's scary to always leave it in the judges.
I know. And I'm not going to lie. Like, I thought I lost that fight.
It was close.
I totally thought I lost because in my eyes, I'm a wrestler. And I always, like, I'm kind of biased, but I always give wrestling more, I guess, points in this imaginary point system we have. I give it more points than not wrestling, So the fact that she was taking me down, I was like, oh shit, I just got docked.
That's what I was thinking when she was taking you down, but she wasn't really doing much. That's the only thing that I would. Yeah. The other side I was thinking, because even when you were on your back, you were still doing damage to her. Yeah. So I was just thinking like, well, if the judges are gonna score it based off a takedown or ground control or off damage, and because I think the first round was really good, and I think second round is when she was holding you down.
I think second round she won.
Yeah.
I think first round I won because I was like nailing her.
Standing, you were hitting her.
Yeah, and then third round was the closest round I think. Yeah. But I think it came down to who was trying to finish the fight. And it didn't seem like she was trying to finish. She was just kind of like trying to hold.
We were booing.
Yeah.
Did you hear all of that?
Yeah, I did. And actually that like made me feel better because I was like, yeah, this is so boring, Kana. This is so
Exactly,
boring. You're being boring. They want to see a scrap. But so I really thought that I lost. And when I went back to the corner after that last round, I was like, yeah, I lost. And my coaches are like, we don't know. We don't know for sure. But like, it's really close.
Yeah.
But she was freaking good, man. She was awesome.
Stronger than you thought?
She wasn't necessarily stronger, but her skill was really good. Like her technique, her hips were super good. I could not figure out where her legs were coming from because she's judoka.
Yeah.
And so I could not figure out like what she was going to do to trip me or, throw me or everything. So, it was a really fun fight for me. I thought it was a lot of fun, and me and her talked in the back, and she's super sweet.
She speaks English?
No, there's a language barrier, but we know.
Yeah.
She's like pointing at her eyes. She's like, "Oh, good shot," and I was like, "Yeah, my arm's all bust." Like she armbarred me in the first round.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That looked pretty bad.
Yeah, but it's all good. I've had nothing but respect for most of my opponents. There's like one or two that I'm kind of like, whatever. They weren't invited to the luau, but but for the most part, yeah, it's a sport, you know.
Yeah, I know. After when she was just holding you at the end, I was like, dang, Ilima just lost.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy that the judges saw it differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's my least favorite part about MMA is that sometimes they judge it based off the stupidest things, like just a takedown, and they do nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why I would really like the open round scoring. I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah. They have that Verdict app. I think that's what it's called. Okay. Where like fans score it. Mm-hmm. And they usually show it after fights. And they said like a lot of like controversial decisions are like the other person did way more damage, landed more strikes.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of the open scoring. Mm-hmm. And so like with that too, like knowing where you're at in the fight, you think that will help you too? Like you see the points, like I'm down like 29 to
like I gotta finish this, I gotta win this fight, and speaking of which too, when I was on the shishi break, I looked at my phone. Bellator literally just released the rankings and they tagged me in it. I am number 2, yes. Okay. But on the pound for pound, I'm number 5.
Hey,
so I moved up.
Okay. Hey. We got to update that. So this was recorded right before that. So we're guessing the 2. I should have just guessed the pound for pound. Okay. Well, I totally forgot we're even talking about Instagram questions right now. But let's get to the next one. Next question comes from Ray, one of my Patreon supporters. He says, so proud of you. I ordered some shirts before the fight. When will I get them? I'm in SD.
Oh my gosh, is that Ray Sensei?
Yeah.
Bruh, it's at the gym. He put pickup, like local San Diego pickup, as the shipping option. And so it's literally at my gym at 10th Planet San Diego. So.
Okay, Ray, you heard it, right? Yeah. Right from Ilima. And he also says, looking forward to seeing you at IVMF again this year.
Island Vibe Music Festival.
Okay. I was trying to think what that
I'm
was.
emceeing, so that's my my best friend Natalie. She throws this festival and brings up local artists and everything, and it's kind of like a whole lot of vibes, that kind, But anyway, I'm the MC, so yeah, I'll see you there, Ray.
All right, next question comes from Philin Mama. How can she stand getting punched in the face? I'm sure people ask you that all the time.
Oh my gosh, you'd be surprised. I actually think that everybody needs to get punched in their face once in their life, just so that you can feel it and just so that you can see like how you respond. Mm-hmm. Like what kind of person are you? Are you a fighter? Are you gonna, and there's no right or wrong answer. Like sometimes it's very necessary to disengage and not fight, but I think you'd be surprised when your adrenaline is going, like how much you do not feel it. I don't remember getting hit in that fight at all. And when I rewatched it, I was like, oh shit, she hit me with a jab or something.
So it's not until like later on or the next day you really start to feel it.
The next day, it feels like I've been hit like by a truck or something. Yeah. And then even like I have like a bump up here that I was like, where did that come from? And then my arm is super sore.
Dang, I've been punched in my face one time by my friend on accident. We're at an Empire of the Sun concert back in college, and people were pushing, and I think he was getting into it with one guy. So they're getting closer, like they were about to fight. And then I grabbed the guy and I pulled him to the side. And when I did that, my friend was swinging. So instead of hitting the guy, he hit me. And my reaction was, whoa, that was so cool. I've never been punched in the face before.
Yes.
And that's what it was.
I'm telling you, everybody needs to do it once in their life.
Yeah. But I guess when the adrenaline is going, you don't really think about it as much. Yeah. I kind of want to ask you to punch me in my face just to say I could.
I think we should.
I'll let you punch me in my arm or like my stomach or something. But I don't know.
The body shots are the worst.
No, I mean not over here, but just like straight in the middle.
Trust me, it's
really,
it's
even
the
if I was
worst.
flexing.
I've literally never been dropped by a punch to the head. Like I've been rocked before, kind of dizzy, but the only thing that has ever dropped me is a freaking kick to my sternum. That I was like,
those body shots.
Yeah.
Ryan Garcia, he got dropped by a body shot during that same event. Okay. If I tell you to punch me in my arm, can you give me like 70%?
Well, yeah, my freaking right arm is all.
Okay, give me
I guess I'll
left
do
side.
like
left side. Okay, real quick.
No, right now.
Yeah, right now for the podcast. Just so I can say I got. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Okay, if it's just a jab, then you can give me 100%.
Oh.
Okay. It's my left arm. It's fine.
Not bad, right?
Not bad. I don't think
Is it too violent?
I don't think I could deal with that over 3 to 5 rounds though. And I say that, but I'm sure if it was like I was in there, I could handle it.
And the hardest thing about training is not even like the sparring or getting hit or anything. It's the freaking cardio and your endurance.
Sure.
That is when I'm like, it's all mental. I don't mind getting hit or even like submitted, but when we have to run hill sprints or so, I'm just like, that's the worst.
I know that's something that I would think about when I would watch fighters, because I would just try to do this. Just go like I do insanity, and some of the moves are like this. So I would just think to myself, okay, try to do. Can't really angle this. Try to just do this straight, just jabs straight forward for 5 minutes straight, but also while moving, while also not trying to get taken down, while also just not trying to get knocked out, like while also getting hit. I couldn't even think like how tiring that would be.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it as much as I can get it without ever experiencing it myself.
I'm gonna make you like spar one of these days.
Well, I'm a lover, not a fighter, though.
Yeah, you can, dude.
You could be a lover and a fighter.
I fight out of love. I don't fight out of hate.
Did you hear what Keanu Reeves said in one interview? He's like, "I'm a lover, not a fighter." Or I think that's one of the Drew Barrymore said. He's like, "I'm a lover and a fighter, because if you don't fight for what you love," and then he just went off.
I love Keanu.
Yeah, so funny. Okay, next question comes from JC Shima, my friend. He says, how did she get that fight with the lady that looked like Karen?
Ooh, yeah.
And I'm going to pull that up right now because I remember seeing that clip. Oh, I'm not connected to the internet. Hold on. I got to turn on my Wi-Fi. I remember seeing that clip as an Instagram post saying like one of the most lopsided or criminal injustices in history. And I watched it and I didn't even realize it was you. I remember I seen it and I probably thought like, oh yeah, that's Ilima, but like it didn't stick with me
register
until you were coming on the podcast. And if you haven't seen this, you guys have to right there. Ilima Macfarlane, your record was 0-0.
Yeah, this is my pro debut.
So your pro debut versus Katie Castro, 0-3.
Yeah.
That already says something.
Yeah, so I was explaining before.
Right there. So we're gonna watch it. And Jordan, you can pull this up on the screen. Okay, so take us to what's going on. So you look ruthless.
This was my pro debut. This was again my bucket list fight that my coach convinced me to do, and so I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And this was out on the res, which is like the Indian reservation, one of the reses up in San Diego. So anyway, I had so many friends and family there. Like there was family that flew up from Hawaii for this.
Yeah.
And they put me very last. So this is like after midnight.
Oh,
and I
wow.
was so over it that I was like, I just want to get this over with.
And I think it ended about
Boom.
15 seconds. Oh,
And then
this is on Nagami.
finish her.
Yeah. On her knees. No mercy.
So pretty much you can see she actually like grabs my hair right there. Boom.
Oh,
she grabbed
I
my
didn't
hair.
notice that.
And I went boom.
So you got mad at that
Yeah, I
point.
did get mad.
And then this one was like a...
It was the Mortal Kombat finisher.
Yeah, finisher.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously she's not like a trained fighter. There's different levels to fighting for sure. There are people that take it seriously and actually train. Then there's those that like don't take it seriously, but whatever, like they still are like okay. And then there's those that think that they can fight and they probably do like bar brawls or something. I'm pretty sure she was part of that crew, like bar brawl crew that just thinks they could fight. And you know, there's plenty of dummies like that. But anyway, so yeah, she I knocked her out. I think she actually shat herself. And yeah, the paramedics told us that afterwards, that like, oh yeah, she shit her pants.
That's crazy.
And then yeah, that was my pro debut, and it ended up going viral like months later. It went viral. It was like soccer mom versus MMA fighter, and since then it resurfaces like every few months. It's great. Like when the whole Karen craze started,
Yeah.
and they're like, when Karen wants to speak to the manager. So I used to be all like shame about that, you know, but I think it's funny.
You were the original Karenator.
I was.
You were doing all the world a justice by eliminating Karens one by one. That's crazy. I'm just surprised that fight was sanctioned. And
Well, it's
they
not.
let her.
So the thing is,
Okay, that's why.
out on the reservation, they don't have to follow any rules because there's no commission. Like there's no rules for the commission out there. So that's why it's not sanctioned. So if you actually go onto like official MMA websites, they don't count that, or they'll put next to it like unsanctioned fight or whatever.
Okay, that
Like
makes
I fought in strip clubs before. I legit fought a stripper. Her name was Bunny, and we fought in a strip club and in bikini. Well, she was wearing a bikini. I wasn't, you know. So there's a lot of crazy underground fights that happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I moved past that, unfortunately.
At least that wasn't your highlight of your career.
No.
You accomplished a lot more after that.
But I will say though, the res is like my favorite places to fight. It's so dope. Like there's tribal security. There's we had a rule that we have to go to the bathroom with a teammate because like you could get shanked. I don't know. There's just something. It's there's something dangerous and like thrilling about that kind, and it's like the true started from the bottom. Now we're here. Like for real, it's like the res has always been some of my favorite places to fight.
Okay. Wow. That's gnarly. Yeah. I wonder what happened to that lady, Katie Castro. We Googled her. We couldn't find her.
So check this out. We ended up, a guy signed up at my gym recently, like a couple months ago. And yeah, I've been trying to kind of find out, you know, how's she doing too. Like there's a reporter that had contacted me. He wanted to do a story on it. I'm like, dude, I don't know where she is. I don't even know what she looks like. This guy ends up signing up at my gym, and he's like, you know, it's funny. I actually know that Katie Castro girl that you fought. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, she's my friend's mom. I'm like, holy shoot, what? How is she doing? You know, what's
Is she dead?
What's her story? And he's like, no, she's doing really well. She's actually a nurse. So yeah, I was like, cool. All right, that makes me feel better.
Maybe after you knocked her out, she was like, she's being taken care of by all these nurses, and it motivated her to become a nurse and help out others.
Silver lining.
All because of you.
Silver lining.
Look
Meant
at
to
that. Okay, well, let's get away from Katie Castro, and we'll go on to our last question from m.onse.m. What's a piece of advice you'd give out to women/girls in a male-dominated field?
Ooh, I love that. I love that. My shirt, Wahine in Revolt. I say, go kill it. Do it and go kill it. Like I've been in this male dominated sport and industry and world, really, you know, and I love it because I'm fighting the patriarchy. And anyone in a male dominated sport, like, you can do it, you can kill it. For some reason, I don't know why, but I was just drawn to, like, for example, wrestling when I was little. I always wanted to wrestle. I wanted to try out for the football team when I was little, but Dad said no. And so I don't know why I've been drawn to this, you know, this masculinity and this masculine energy. But yeah, to all the girls who might be like, oh, I don't know, because, you know, it's a boy sport or whatever, like, there's no such thing. Literally no such thing. You can go and you can pave a way for yourself and other women and girls. And yeah, just go kill it.
Awesome advice. Mahalo for sharing that. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of progress in women's sports, in with pay, with like equitable,
yep.
you know.
It's not over yet, though.
It's not over
yet.
Progress, but it's ongoing. And it's tough because it's still so new. Like, if we, like, I guess the most popular one is NBA and WNBA, where, like, I think the lowest NBA player probably makes the same salary as, like, the top WNBA player. Yep. Right? Do you know if that's because of branding, marketing, the organizations?
Yeah, I can't really say. Okay, I will say that through my experience, I've learned that fighting is 50% fighting and 50% business. And a lot of athletes don't understand that yet. And so it's about, I think it comes down to, like, the branding side, the business side. It's just as equally as important as the competition side. And I will say too, with that original question of if I could give any advice, is there also needs to be a balance. And I was taught this by my kia'i from Bellator Hawaii #1. They taught me that, you know, yes, I can be cool. I can, you know, go out and fight. I can do all of that, but I also have to have hina. And so, yeah, I just try to keep that balance, because when there's an imbalance, it's going to affect everything, you know. Definitely. So yeah, go do that boy male dominated sport, go kill it, but don't forget the hina.
Yeah. That's a good point. You bring up the balance. Definitely. Okay. And I'm just throwing this last question in from the same person. Fried ice cream or Oreos?
Neither.
Ooh.
It's so weird. I like...
You're not a sweets person?
Oh, no, I am.
Oh, okay.
I am. I just, like, don't eat Oreos or fried ice cream.
Oh, okay.
I would say just ice cream in general. Like, okay. I love ice cream. So,
what flavor?
Mine is mint chocolate chip and cookie dough.
Oh, okay. Yep. Nice. Yeah. Those are two of the popular niche ones.
Yes.
It's not, and like, what I mean by that is like strawberry, vanilla.
Yeah.
Chocolate, but it's like mint chocolate.
Oh no, I have a huge sweet tooth, and I think that's also why I was like throwing up this morning. Just so much sugar for the last 3 days. Like literally eating chocolate at midnight last night, and so I'm just like, my body's rejecting the sugar.
It's like when you fast for like 2 days or something, and you just eat something, and just all comes right out of you. Yeah. I feel like people who are trying to lose weight, like these diet plans and workouts, they just gotta hire an MMA coach.
Oh yeah, I can.
Those are the pros at losing weight.
I can definitely help you lose weight for sure. And we know how to make it sustainable, but also how to get you ready for like a big event where like you do need to drop drastically.
Yeah.
So you know, despite it being unhealthy a lot of times and not sustainable, I do know how to make sustainable changes to your lifestyle. So yeah, if you guys need any help, let me know.
Anecdotally, is it more working out, physical workouts, or diet?
100% diet.
100% diet.
Yeah. And I don't even like to use that term, because it's like, I like to say like it's lifestyle. Yeah. So 100% is what you're putting into your body.
Okay. So you could be like working out 1, 2, maybe 3 times a week, but just eating super healthy, and you'll get fit, you'll lose weight.
Yep. You can absolutely lose weight just with your diet alone. Or lifestyle change.
Yeah. No, I agree. I intermittent
Nutrition,
fast.
yeah.
And it's not a fad, it's not a diet, it's my lifestyle. I've been doing it for years, and it's so good. I love it. Yeah. Do you do that?
I do a form of it.
Okay.
So for example, like when I'm in camp, I typically wake up, I'll take some branched chain amino acids or essential amino acids, and I'll go work out. I don't like to work out with food in my belly. I go work out for a couple hours, then I'll have my protein shake, and then I won't have solid food, like a meal until maybe like noon or after 12 o'clock. Then that's when I'll have my first solid food. Then I'll go nap or rest or recover, and then a couple hours later have some more food. So I do try to keep the solid food within a window, within like 5-hour window, because then I go train again in the evenings.
Ooh.
And then after the nighttime session, then depending on where my weight is at that point of camp, I'll either have something small, or I'll have just a protein shake again.
Okay.
But yeah, food window, I like to keep it within like 5 hours.
Yeah. That's tough. I follow MMA and the weight cutting, and I see how hard it is.
Yeah. It really is the first fight before the fight.
Seriously.
Like you will find out a lot about yourself doing a weight cut and depriving yourself. Like I don't eat, I fast for about like 36 hours doing the cut, and then I do a dry fast. I won't even drink water for the last 24 hours. And
wow.
you're working out, you're trying to sweat everything out, you're in the sauna, and yeah, it's just, but once you can control, it's a spiritual experience, honestly. And once you can control that part, like, you're unstoppable.
Exactly. Because people don't realize how capable we are of doing things.
Yep.
They're like, I need food. It's been 12 hours. Like, no, you can get through it.
Yep.
It's all in
mental.
the mind.
It's mental, yep.
Yeah. Especially working out while fasting, that's tough, because I tried a 72-hour fast once.
Yeah.
But once you work out, man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because if you're just chilling, doing your everyday things, doing light workouts, it's fine.
Yep.
But I went on my 48-hour fast. I went surfing.
Oh, yep.
Oh my God. I can't do it. I had to get a smoothie.
Yep.
That smoothie came right out.
Yeah.
But it's rough. It's rough. So much respect. Okay, well, mahalo everybody for the Instagram questions. Make sure you leave some for our next guest. It may be a question. We'll make it on the podcast. And remember to always be the Aloha U.S. juice in the world, just like our sponsors, Shaka Tea. Awesome Mamaki tea. Also good for you. Yeah. Do you know the benefits of Mamaki?
No.
It's super good for like lower cholesterol. And, there's, you Google it, there's like a million other things. I don't know if it says in the
I like that
here.
it is sweetened. A lot of these are sweetened by monk fruit and stevia. Like, those are the
All
sweeteners that I use. I stay away from sucralose and those artificial ones. Like, so I already look at the ingredients and I'm like, good. Yeah.
It's good stuff. Yeah. All local, based in Hilo, Hawaii.
Nice.
Supporting local farmers.
Yes.
All the good stuff. Yeah. Okay. So, because this podcast is called Keep It Aloha, it's the new name change. I'm all about Aloha, spreading Aloha, all of that. What does Keep It Aloha mean to you? What does the word Aloha mean to you?
Keep It Aloha to me, I want to say the stage of life I'm in right now, it is education. Because I think that there is a time for, you got to be ku'e. You got to call out the heva. And you can do it with aloha, like kapu aloha. You can still do it, So that to me is where I'm at right now in my life. That I can deliver these messages to the audience at my fights, to, you know, anybody who looks at my page. I can deliver these messages and still do it with Aloha, where like they won't feel attacked. People won't feel attacked, and you know, they'll still be curious, and we can engage in discussion. You know, so it's that balance. Yeah, so that's what, to me, living with Aloha is. Yes, I'm that happy Hawaiian girl that loves, you know, Bellator and loves all the fighters and their families. I'm like, yeah, bring them to the luau, you know, da 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 da. But I'm also that Hawaiian that is like, but also here's my walkout, and you guys are directly contributing to, you know, these issues.
Yeah.
But I think if you can do it in a particular way, people will be receptive to it.
Yeah. And that leads to my next question. Like, how do you show Aloha in a sport where it's very violent? How do you keep Aloha that way?
I give my opponents leis. Yeah.
Sorry for beating you.
There you go. Yeah. No, for real, it's like, I look at it, it's a sport. Yes, there's some violence in it, but every sport can have violence in it, you know? And I look at it as a sport, and, you know, there's, again, all fighters are different. Some look at it as, hey, kill or be killed. Like they're out there to hurt somebody. But I look at it as, this is a sport. This is a competition. At the end of the day, I want both of us to be able to go home and be with our families and be safe. And, I acknowledge you, and I see you, and I mahalo you for sharing the dance with me. Because there's nothing, like, one of my favorite things about this sport, I love seeing the shit talking that happens like leading up to the fight. Yeah, I love it. And there's some guys that you really think like, well, they like really hate each other, you know, this is getting personal or whatever. After they fight, they hug each other, they shake hands, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like my favorite moments is seeing that. Cause I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, you're going to have respect for anybody that does this sport, anybody that steps in the cage like that. You're going to have respect for them no matter what.
Yeah. I love seeing the post-fight interviews, cause especially if it's somebody who was talking and they lost, or somebody who was talking a lot or getting talked at a lot, seeing how they react to it. I love that when they always respond with aloha, or they're just like, oh, I'm sorry about what we said. You know, it's all respect. I love that. Yep. Yeah. That's the coolest part about the fighting scene. Yeah. Okay. So, after you finish up your career in fighting, what do you think you want to do? What are your future plans?
So I would love to move back home. That's been on the horizon, you know, coming back home. And my partner, Jason, you know, he grew up in Kona his whole life pretty much. Just moved up to San Diego when we started dating. And now I'm like, okay, let's go back. And he's like, no, I love it up here, you know. But I know that I'm going to come home because this is where I can make the most positive impact. And of course, I miss my family. You know, I'm so close with my family. I'm the only one that left. Everybody else is here. And so the plan is I want to come home. I actually want to open a 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu school, my own gym. Nice. I want to open up a gym over here, and, you know, spread the 10th Planet knowledge, and really try to give the opportunity that I was afforded when I started fighting. You know, I want to give other girls and other up and coming fighters the same opportunity that I had. So that's the plan. I would also love to do more commentary with Bellator. You know, I could do like they don't have any female fighter commentators. So yeah, I would love to continue my journey with them. But and then of course my foundation, like that is what I'm gonna be running hard. Like that is my legacy. But and like I said earlier, I do want to start my own family, and that's why I feel like this next chapter of my life is going to be the most important, because that's when I'm going to be raising the next generation of Kanaka. So
yeah, that's exciting and scary at the same time.
So scary.
Yeah.
Have you seen my husband? He's like huge. So I think
Yeah.
I'm just going to have huge Samoan babies. But
Well, I would feel sorry for if you have daughters, whoever they bring home.
oh, yeah. I know. I like would love to have daughters just because I loved being a girl and I loved like being a little badass girl, you know. And so I'm like, heck yeah, I want
Yeah,
daughters.
yeah.
And Jason's like, they're probably going to be the most girly girls.
You never know. Yeah. So was there ever a point in your life where you struggled to be Hawaiian or struggle with your identity? For example, like you left our islands, you lived in San Diego, where when you leave, it's tough because you can still be Hawaiian, but it isn't really celebrated. And that's what I noticed when I leave. Like, we can't celebrate our culture here in other places like we do over here. Like, I was thinking about this when I was back home for Mary Monarch, how cool that was. How cool it was to see everybody in their palaka shorts, their aloha shirts, their dresses, their ni'ihau earrings, all of that. And I was, in Arizona the week before that, and I was like, I feel so small and insignificant. And then total opposite, just go to Hilo, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm so proud to be Hawaiian.
Yes. Yeah. I am like going through that right now, actually, like not feeling that I am Hawaiian enough because I am in the continent. You know, I've been in the continent since 2009, over 10 years already. And I do feel that, just this fight week alone, I was trying to make captions for some of my posts. And I'm trying to think of like all the mo'i wahine that I wanted to include in it. And I was like, dude, I need to brush up on my Hawaiian history because like I had to like go look everything up again, and I was just like, wow, I actually don't know as much as I thought I do. And of course, like you're always going to be learning, but that's why it calls me to come back home because I do want to. I've always said like I do want to learn how to olelo Hawaii fluently, but how do I do it up in San Diego? And yes, there's online courses and everything that you can take, but I feel like it's different. But it's also the reality of modern day Hawaiian Hawaiians. Isn't it like 80% of Hawaiians actually live outside of Hawaii?
Yeah, I think there's a certain stat like that.
And so I think I had a stigma about Hawaiians in the mainland, like, those that were first generation mainland or whatever. And it seems cheesy. They're wearing like kukui nut leis and like, I don't, and I'm just like, nah, I don't want my children to be like that. I want them to grow up in Hawaii and know the real culture. But then the sad reality is that like, that is just what's happening right now is that there's a diaspora and we are displaced. And so we have to make the best of it. And if that means like, kind of doing some cheesy luau, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, then that's what they have access to. That's what they're going to hold on to as much as possible. And so, okay, let's start changing the narrative then and like bringing real Hawaii, real culture, real Hawaiians to that scene outside of Hawaii, if that makes sense.
For sure.
But yeah, I grapple with that every day, especially being in the public spotlight, having the platform that I do and like bringing awareness to all these issues and my Hawaiian culture. I'm like, I'm a fraud. I don't know enough. Like I don't belong here. It's not like I feel like, I need to know more.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. All of us are going through that. 90%, 95, 98% of us are going through that. Even myself, I went Hawaiian immersion school all my life. I'm asked to do some talks for like AAPI month. And they're like, oh yeah, can you talk about like the Naha stone and Lono and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't remember these things. I don't remember all the queens and kings. And so even me, somebody who has had all the education, I got to brush up on it too. So it's not even you don't even have to be in the system to not know all of it. It's just because that's the world we live in. It wasn't taught to us. You shouldn't feel ashamed of not knowing Aloha Hawaii because it wasn't taught to you. Because our parents, our kupunas, they couldn't teach it to us. So the fact that I'm in the 1% of the population that speaks it that's a miracle. Like how your dad and your uncle are brothers. That's how small of the chance of it happening. So we gotta take some pressure off of us. Not saying we shouldn't learn it, we shouldn't dive more into it, but that feeling of like, I'm a fraud. I don't know as much as I should do. That's nobody's fault. You know?
And there was I remember reading this one post during Mauna Kea, and it was about kulana and your role. Not kuleana like responsibility, but like kulana. And it was from my cousin, Trisha Watson Kehau, and she was saying that like, what is your role? What is your kulana? And at that time, I was like, my kulana, honestly, it's being in the U.S. right now, like, because that's where I can still fight back. I can still contribute despite being up there, and that's where my kulana is at that moment. But I know that eventually, my kulana is going to be over here. So I think, like, that post to me, it like really touched me because I was like, yeah, I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And her post was explaining that, like, you don't have to do it all. You don't have to do everything. You just, what is your role?
Yeah, you do what you, I mean, think of the ahupua'a system. Everybody had their different roles. Everybody wasn't a fisherman, farmer, cook, whatever. Maybe some people were, you know, those are the really impressive people. And the people that do that these days, that's super impressive. But everybody played an intricate part in the ecosystem. Like for me, I'm not a hunter. I'm not a fisher. I don't spearfish. I don't know how to do that.
Yep.
Does that make me less Hawaiian? No, I don't think so. I'm doing what I feel is necessary in my life and still, you know, doing things for the lahui. But, you know, as a fighter, as a podcaster, as social media, whatever, everybody's doing their roles. It just looks different these days. But it's all still part of that ahupua'a.
Yes.
You know?
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's what I'm trying to share with people. I mean, there's a modern Hawaiian. We're modern Hawaiians. And half of us live not in Hawaii, you know? And that's just the reality of it. But, I mean, with our platforms, you know, it's cool to be able to show people how different Hawaiians look. The different jobs they're doing, you know, they sound different, they look different. Like, representation it's everything. Yeah. So that's why I love doing this. I love what you're doing. It's just people are hard on themselves. Even me, you know. There's times where I feel fraudulent, you know, but it's all part of the human experience.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it until you don't gotta fake it no more. Yeah, definitely. And, you know, there's always Google. If you don't know something, just Google it. And if that doesn't give you the answer, then talk to people.
Yes. Yeah. I always go on social media and I have my like mentors that I'm like, is this correct? You know, how is this? How's that? And they give me their knowledge, you know? So yeah.
It's scary too when you have so many followers like you do. And you just feel like if you don't put in okina or a kako or you misspell something, you're probably like, oh my gosh, everybody's gonna hate me.
Yeah, we were so bummed. We actually messed up on the second okina of my fight shirt. It was like an apostrophe so the first one, it was oia vau mau ma'anei, and the first okina was correct, and then the second okina was backwards. Yeah. And we totally didn't catch it.
That's a tough one to catch though. Yeah. That's really tough.
And I was like, you know what, it's okay, it's okay. So I think like half of my shirts have the incorrect version and then the other half have the correct one. But so yeah.
Oh, it's a little limited edition. That's
limited
cool.
edition.
Yeah, the backwards okina.
Yeah.
Yeah, those little things like the I didn't even realize that until a year or two ago.
That is actually backwards.
Yeah, because you just write whatever use the keyboard. English keyboard, and when you do the Hawaiian keyboard, it actually makes the okina in the right direction. That's something that I did not even think of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to have to go to like vehevehe.org to go like copy
Paste,
paste.
yeah.
And then so whoever created the Hawaiian keyboard, mahalo.
Yeah. I do that when I don't want to change my keyboard.
Yeah.
I just and look at that's so funny you said that. Okay. So what would you say is your biggest accomplishment to this date?
Ooh. So it used to be like being the inaugural flyweight champion, being the first, all that good stuff. But actually, my biggest accomplishment is bringing Bellator Hawaii to the islands.
That's cool.
Yeah, because it was just, it was like the perfect storm. Like Bellator has wanted to come to Hawaii for so long, and they have so many Hawaii ties. Like Uncle Scott, his partner, she's from Lanai. Our matchmaker at the time, his wife was from Oahu. There's several fight operations staff that are from Hawaii. So they've been wanting to bring it home for a long time, but they just never really had a big enough reason to. And then I come along and I start climbing the ranks, and then they decide to crown a champion in our division, and I was going to fight for the belt. And also, side note, the UFC didn't have a flyweight they didn't have a flyweight division yet. And when they saw that Bellator was gonna crown a champion, they literally canceled the Ultimate Fighter season that year. They were gonna do like heavyweights or something, and they said, "Oh, we're gonna do a flyweight season." And this was after like Dana said he wasn't gonna ever start that division or whatever.
Yeah.
So I like to think that, it was because of me that like the UFC also started their flyweight division, and they were trying to beat us on they initially were like, "Oh, we're going to crown a champion in November or whatever." And we were scheduled to crown in December. So then Bellator like changes the dates because they're like, "Nope, we're going to be the first." So it pushed up my camp by like a month. But anyway, so they started their division, and after I won the belt, and I defended it successfully up in San Diego, then I called out on the mic. I like manifested it. I was like, "Let's do a Bellator Hawaii. Like, let's go back home." And we freaking made it happen. Bellator made it happen. So the reason it's so important is because there was no big promotion for over 10 years that came back to Hawaii. And Hawaii has such a solid history, like such a deep history of MMA in Hawaii, and has such a big contribution to the sport that it's like, why don't we have big promotions here? How come the UFC cannot come? Max was their champion, and the UFC didn't even bring it to Hawaii because something like money issue, or they wanted money, they wanted more money. But Bellator was like, "No, we're gonna make it happen." And so I always say that was my proudest moment, was that not only was it a Hawaiian that brought it to the islands, but it was a wahine.
So I love that. I love it. Be proud of it. Flex on them.
Yep.
Yeah. I know, if Max can't even bring UFC here. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. Is there some tension between Bellator, UFC fighters, like the promotions?
No, not between the fighters themselves. Like, no way. It's such a close community, and I tell you, like, I really don't have any beef with like any fighters out there. Except for one who I fought who tested positive for steroids in our fight, and she never apologized, like nothing,
What?
And so I was just like, "Dog, you're not invited to the luau."
You can sit with us. Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, so it's all good vibes. Well, so the thing is that like it's like HIPAA violation. So Bellator is different because we don't have USADA, which is the third party, that. So I guess like USADA, if you test positive for anything, then they make it public. But the California Commission doesn't because of HIPAA laws and everything. So anyway, and it probably would have come out if she had won, because then it would have been like, "Oh, well, she got stripped. She got the belt stripped because she tested positive." But because I had won that fight, then it was kind of just like, all right, whatever. It's like no harm, no foul. Yeah. But still, I'm like, dude, at least like message me and apologize or like own up to it or something, but she never did. So,
Dang. Well, call her out right now. Expose her. Let's cancel her. Everybody, Hawaii, let's come together. Forget about Aloha. Forget everything we talked about. Expose this lady.
It's okay. Sumiko already beat the crap out of her.
Okay. Never mind. We're cool. Cancel that. Okay. What is something you wish people knew about you that they don't?
Something that I wish they knew about me, that I have this like very hard, strong exterior. I'm very like wahine toa, you know, but I'm a softie inside, and like I am sensitive, and I think it's so I'm an Aries. I'm always like Aries, but then my moon sign is a Cancer. So then they say the moon sign is like what you are behind closed doors. Like your sun sign is what you are like out to the world, but moon sign is what you are behind closed doors. And like Cancer is, you know, so sensitive. And so, yeah, I think I am like soft, and I do feel pain and hurt just like everyone else, despite this. Like, what you fuck up?
Yeah. Oh, my earrings. Okay, nice. How do you want to be remembered when it's all said and done?
When it's all said and done, I really want to be remembered like my parents. I always talk about my parents and how I think they're the most wonderful people ever. And I think anybody that has met them or knows them would agree. I've literally never heard of anything negative said about them. And they take care of people. They will never turn anyone away. They'll do anything for anyone. Even if you are just, you know, a stranger, they would do anything for you. So I want to be remembered like how my parents live. And again, more for the positive changes that I create outside of the cage.
Definitely. Awesome. What is a piece of advice you'd leave for somebody wanting to get into fighting or be a mana wahine?
It comes that title. I feel like it's a title. And I never really knew how I felt about it, because like when people, I feel like you need to be bestowed that title, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. And so I think just keep that in mind, that it's going to come with a lot of responsibility, and but it's possible and you can do it. And just carry yourself with grace, lots of grace and dignity. And you don't have to do crazy stuff. You don't have to sell yourself short. You don't have to sell yourself online. Like, I feel like I've been able to create this career and reach the levels that I have by being genuine and authentic, and you know, not doing what we tend to see these days online. And so I just want, especially for women and girls, like you can absolutely do it how I did it, and don't feel pressured to do something you don't want to do.
Awesome. Beautiful. What about advice for somebody who's struggling with their identity?
Struggling with their identity. Do the work, and do, like, again, I'm going back to education, because that's what I'm going to do. I do feel like I can do more. And I don't know if that's the athlete in me or the fighter in me, but I feel like I can do more. So what is that going to be? So I want to do the work. Like, yes, I feel like I can be fraudulent at times, and I don't feel like I'm Hawaiian enough, but I know that I can be, if I do the hana and carry myself according to the Hawaiian values that I was raised on, and representing in a pono way. As long as you're a pono, as long as you carry yourself in a pono way, you're Hawaiian enough.
I was just about to ask you, like, what does it take to? So you're already Hawaiian enough.
Yeah,
You just answered your own question. You do everything in a pono way.
Yeah,
You're already Hawaiian enough.
Yeah. but I still want to keep going. You know, I'm always like trying to do more, want to do more. And it's not even just for like my ego. It's so that I can be like, yeah, I'm freaking Kanak. Yeah. No, it's like because I want to learn. I want to, you know, pass this knowledge down to my keiki and the next generation. Like I want to keep helping the lahui as much as I can. So I want to do the work.
I love that. Yeah. Not may makauwi ka hana, makauwi ka moloa. So don't be afraid of the work, be afraid of laziness. That's very true. Okay, so we're at the end of the podcast, and before we end, I gotta know, what is your life hack?
My life hack. I have said this from, you know, the beginning of my career. Do not post anything on social media that you wouldn't want your dad to see. And I'm very blessed to have a good relationship with my dad. I know that that's not, you know, accessible to everybody, but just think of a figure in your life that you respect and that you wouldn't want to disappoint, I guess. And keep that in mind, because social media can absolutely be a tool for good. And I feel like I've been able to harness that and use it for good. But it can also be a tool of destruction. So just just as in simplest terms, like do not post anything that you wouldn't want your loved ones to see. Yeah.
That's good. That's great to keep in mind. Okay. All right, I have my last fast fave 5 questions. Okay, just rapid fire answer, okay? Favorite airplane snack?
The taro chips.
Oh,
on
okay.
Hawaiian.
Yeah. Is it taro brand? Is that no?
Taro chips.
I know which one you're like with the purple bag with the design.
Yeah.
I think that's the one. Yeah. Okay. Favorite travel destination?
Ooh, like I've been there before.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, gosh, I've been to like 20 something countries. My favorite was Peru.
Ooh, you went to Machu Picchu?
Yeah, I went to Machu Picchu, and that was like, 100% one of the, 7 wonders of the world.
Yeah.
Like, that was amazing.
Dang, that's so cool. I want to go. When I applied to Peace Corps, Peru was my first choice. But then I ended up going to Madagascar.
You know what? I applied to Peace Corps too.
What?
Yeah, I applied to Peace Corps. I actually was taking Arabic because I wanted to go to like the Middle East somewhere. I didn't get in.
They're lost.
Yeah. But I that's why when I saw you go to Peace Corps, I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just became an even bigger fan. Okay. Favorite date night restaurant?
Ooh, favorite date night restaurant. Honestly, we are such homebodies now. We just love ordering takeout like sushi and just staying at home with our pups. We have 5 dogs, so like,
wow,
yeah,
5 dogs.
We just like to stay home. We're homebodies. That's the perfect date night. And sorry, I know this is supposed to be fast answers, but like,
no, yeah, fast responses.
Okay,
that's what I meant.
My husband Jason, like, it takes a really strong man to be with a fighter, you know, and especially me. And he, poor thing, was like basically cutting weight. Like, he was not allowed to eat this last week because I was like, nope, I'm cutting weight. Like, the dogs are fasting too. Like, dogs, you guys are fat. You're not going to get any food. And so, like, shout out to him for holding it down at home. And we are just so excited. We already made a list of like the food that I want to eat when we get back home. We fly back tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah, we're just so excited to fry up some steaks. Shout out to Travis Brown and Ronda Rousey. They have their Rousey Acres, and we order meat from them, and it's like amazing. It's like the best steak ever because it's regenerative. They love their animals and their cattle and everything.
Yeah.
You can taste the difference of Aloha. So
do they live in California?
They have a ranch in California. I don't know what part. I think they are in California. Yeah, but yeah, we were like, can't wait to get a tomahawk steak from Browsey Ranch and fry that up when I get home.
Travis is from where? What?
I thought he was from Oahu, but then I'm like, is he from Molokai? Because they got married on Molokai. So I'm not sure.
I gotta look it up. I know he has ties over here.
Yeah, that'd be cool to get him on the podcast.
Yeah. Super cool. I'll get everybody. Max is my number 1.
Yep.
He's busy. That guy's busy. Okay. Favorite book?
Favorite book?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. I really took a lot from The Obstacle is the Way. And it's a purple book. I forgot who the author was. I read it a few years ago when I was going through like really difficult time in my personal life and my career. You know, I was going through a really bad breakup, and The Obstacle is the Way. We kind of briefly touched on it earlier, that like, you know, how is it so easy for me to look at the silver lining of things? And I'm like, because the obstacle, whatever you think is the obstacle, that's the way. It's not even an obstacle. It is what is supposed to happen. And it's how you react and how you respond to that quote unquote obstacle is what is really going to make the difference. So like I look at, for example, a year ago at last Bellator Hawaii, it was my comeback fight. And on paper, I was supposed to beat this girl. You know, it was my comeback fight. I had just come back from surgery. I was like ready to go. I had this amazing walkout that was dedicated to Red Hill. I'm like yelling, running down to the cage. And then I totally lost. And looking back, I am so grateful that that happened, that I lost, because that was my biggest fear in the world, was to lose at home in front of, you know, my family and friends in hometown, like, and to disappoint everybody. And now that I experienced that and I realized that it actually doesn't matter, like people who matter are still going to be there for me. Like it took all the pressure off for this fight. And so yeah, I look at that silver lining / obstacle, that like it wasn't an obstacle. That's what was supposed to happen.
It was a lesson and a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes that happens in fighter career, especially the undefeated ones, right? That first loss is what really teaches them the most important lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, what was my last question? Favorite? Wait, what are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know.
Favorite book?
Favorite book. Okay, I just lost. I forgot how to count. Okay. Favorite? Okay, this is the last question. Okay, then we end the podcast and you can go home and eat all the food you want. Hopefully your stomach can still take it. Okay. Favorite leisure activity?
Ooh, favorite leisure activity. I love to karaoke.
Oh,
is that considered leisure?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like if I'm not in camp or preparing for a fight or something, like
what's
I
your go-to
love
song?
Karaoke. I love to do I don't want to say it on this one. I love to do the Divinals, When I Think About You, I Touch Myself. Yeah, it's inappropriate, but
is that dedicated to Jason?
Yeah, I sing it to Jason. But yeah, this whole trip I kept trying to go to Shinso-te. Every night I was like, let's go to Shinso, but like everybody was so exhausted. You know, we're running on like 3 hours of sleep every night, so I haven't been able to go karaoke yet while I'm home. But Shinso's and Hibiscus Club, that's my spot.
Okay, cool. You can give us a little sample today before we end.
Okay. I love myself. I want you to know. Sorry. And then the chorus is, when I think about you, I touch myself. And I always think of the Austin Powers movie when he's like singing it to the fembots. So I try to do the choreography. So maybe one day you'll see the full routine.
Yeah, the next luau.
Yeah.
After you win your second belt. Well,
hopefully I win them back. Yeah.
Does that count as the second belt?
Third belt? You know, I don't know. I think I just like once I reclaim, because I've defended, or I got the belt 5 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how that would work, but I guess just once I reclaim the belt. Yeah. Then.
But that wouldn't. Not your second belt, because they give you a new one, right? Is that how it works? Yeah.
And technically, I have like 3 belts, because the first belt that I got burned in a fire in Kauai. So like literally burned in a house fire. Wow. Out in the country at the Loi. So anyway, I'm like, I think I have like 3 belts, because the one is burnt and then they replaced it.
Okay. Well, that's all we got today. Mahalo so much for coming on, just roughing it, and not canceling and just staying in bed to expel all your luai, your vomit.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for understanding. I hope you guys
totally.
couldn't tell that I'm like holding it down.
Yeah, you got a good poker face.
Game face.
Yeah, game face. Yeah. Nobody if you didn't say anything, I don't think anybody would have known. Now everyone's gonna go back, watch the whole thing again, and they're gonna just critique every single movement, everything you're saying. But yeah, where can we find you?
You can find me. Instagram is my favorite thing, at Ilima-Nator. You can also follow my foundation at Nawahine Toa. And I have a website too, Ilima-Nator.com, that has more information about my foundation, my career, everything, and how you can give back. So at Ilima-Nator.
Right on. One of the best nicknames in the sports game, the fight game. Well, mahalo Ilima for joining us on the Keep It Aloha podcast. Spread aloha, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. We have new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us. And if you're still listening to this point, please consider leaving a review. It would mean the world to me. I'm your host, Kamaka, and remember to always keep it aloha.